Hi everyone, this is Lynn from DevineCentral. Today is Wednesday and I am here with your Wednesday weekly tarot mailbag reading. Now I have kind of an unusual, well it's not really an unusual question, it's just really involved today. So let me tell you what I've got here. It's a gentleman, my beloved fiance, wants to invite her ex's entire family to our wedding. Parents, grandparents, siblings, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, but not the ex because they did not have an amicable split a few years ago. But there's going to be more of her ex's family there than her own. I want to be considerate of her wants and needs. We all have a past. I was married for 20 years and there isn't a single member of my ex-in-laws that I plan on inviting. She has a huge heart and likes to stay attached. But on the day of our wedding, I don't want to be reminded of her past. What do I do? So, he does go on to say that he feels like that she has a 7-year-old son and that he might feel, maybe with a little bit of closure, it might feel better for him if he wasn't sitting there by himself or if he had somebody else. So he says, I certainly get that point. And he said they are taking marital counseling and they are in their second round of it, before marrying. And so they are trying to work through some of this. But he said to invite the aunts and uncles, the siblings of the ex, and not invite him, it just seems kind of weird. So what is he to do? Well, I'll tell you what, I feel like that's not really the right question. There's another question, but stick with me, follow along. I'm going to be using Llewellyn's Classic Tarot by Barbara Moore today. This is actually my fair or my festival's reading deck. I just love this deck. I've already shuffled it, so let's just go ahead and lay out some questions for his question, or some cards for his question, which was, what should I be doing about it? So he's got some alternatives. Let's see what they are. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Let's do 5 cards. Ooh. All right. That makes sense. All right. What's the bottom of the deck? We'll see that in a minute. Okay. So right away I see there's no major arcana cards in here. So this is not something that's going to be a major issue in the long run. I think in the short run it is, but in the long run I think that it's going to be fine. But I see right away that we have the Page of Wands. This is typically a young person. I'm thinking that this is the 7-year-old. This is somebody with, who's all heart and excitement and not, oblivious to anything bad that's going on around him. But this is someone that becomes the focal point, I think, of the discussion is probably the boy. And if so, then we can look at the alternatives here, right? So we start with the 8 of Cups. I think that one of his options, obviously, would be to walk away. I don't think he wants to do that, but I think maybe stepping back is not a bad thing to do. I mean, after all, this is a decision that needs to be made between both of them. And if she can't understand his concerns, or if she's not willing to look at them, then he needs to take that in consideration. What's going to happen in 5 years from now? I ask that question all the time. Everyone's so concerned about what's going on today, they don't think about what's going to happen in 5 years from now. When now she's inviting them to Christmas at their house, or inviting them to Thanksgiving, or to every function that they have as a couple. And I kind of don't blame him for not wanting to, well, let's put it this way, for him wanting to have some type of separation. And her loyalties need to lie with him. And if they can't do that, can he see this working? Because this just may not work for him. And better to find out now than before they get married. So I think it's not just a matter of settling this question. I think it's a matter of how is this going to look with this other family going forward. He needs to take that into consideration now, because as I tell anybody and everybody, and not just from the tarot cards, but from personal experience, when you marry somebody, when you take somebody on, you get what you see, you get what you get. You can't change them. So you need to learn to, you better be able to accept them for who and what they are. And that's coming from someone who just celebrated 27 years. So yay. All right. So the other alternative that we have for him, obviously, is going to be to stand his ground. This Seven of Wands is obviously a defense card, and it's about having it's about him saying, look, I'm gonna stand my ground here. I'm drawing a line in the sand, and this is where we differ. And this is what I'm willing to accept, and this is what I'm not. Now, if this is a moral decision, and if he's going to stand on his moral decision, like this is just not right, he needs to do that. But he needs to tell her the truth. But I think if he can do it, if he can find a way to do it without being defensive or without putting her on the defense, I don't know if that's possible because I don't know her. But I do know that at some point in time he needs to stand up for himself. He can't just, I mean, if he's just putting up with this and he's going to be defensive because he doesn't want her to change her mind and not marry him, it's better to stand up and take the fear, suck it up, and do it now. Because if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. But at least you walk away with your dignity. You walk away with your moral stance. So I think that really he needs to get a deeper understanding here of what it is that's causing her, whatever anxiety or whatever need to have all these people around her. That's number one. Number two, I think he needs to draw some lines, to draw some boundaries, and set something right here up front before they get married, because otherwise I just say it's a temporary situation. And again, we have this boy, and so I'm thinking, he can be defensive about it. He can, lay down some ultimatums, try to get a deeper understanding of what the hell she's doing, or we can turn a positive note and with the Three of Pentacles and say, listen, it's time to do some negotiating, because that's what this card's about. It's a teamwork card. It's about being able to negotiate and win approval of the people you work with. I mean, that's not what he's doing in this card. So we want to get maybe some compromising, some issues that we can compromise on and try to come to terms with. Possibly, which would be a good example, would be maybe having the grandparents there to be with the boy and to sit with the boy. But as far as first place, nieces and nephews are absolutely not necessary. But the siblings, I don't blame him. I think he needs to stand his ground with something, and maybe the siblings is where he draws the line. But absolutely, the grandparents would be more than welcome, and that might be a good compromise for her. Now, the other alternative that he has right now in front of him is just to come up with something practical. I mean, here we have the Queen of Practicality, right? She can pull a buck out of thin air. And really, when this card comes up in this reading, it just makes me think of finances. So it's like, look, I'd love to invite, everybody from your job and your other family and all your high school classmates and your softball team, but we have a budget. And inviting 20 extra people that really have nothing to do. This is not a family reunion, right? It's my wedding and it's your wedding, and I want you to have people there, but we need to take a look at the cost side of it and maybe come up with some practical reasons why it wouldn't work, and I think that sitting down and showing how much it's going to cost per person to have them there is probably going to be a really good argument. So anything from Spirit? What does Spirit say? I always like to turn over the deck and find out what Spirit says about all this. And we've got the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, so look, to me it says you're a down-to-earth guy. you know, you're loyal, but take your time. And I think that's the message from Spirit is you need to take your time and wade into this from a practical standpoint. Take the emotions out of it because you know you love her, and you know you care about her son, and you know you really don't mind, you know, having the family to a degree involved in your life, but you just need to set some boundaries and negotiate what that's going to be. But you know what? See, to me, and I said this earlier, to me, that's really not, to me, the main question. The main question is, how is their communication skills? Because it seems to me like, why is he asking this question? Why has he not already said, you know, come up with some of these things? So the question is, are they going to be able to work this out through communication to the point where, you know, this marriage is going to work? So let's just pull 3 cards right at the top for it. See what we've got. Oh gosh, we got another. Okay. All right. So I think what I would tell him is, let me put this on the side. I think what I would tell him is, you know what? It could go either way, but I think either way it could work. You're going to make it work. I think that she's going to be open to options and some of the options that you bring to the table. And I think that that's going to take it into a new direction for you, so you're not so stressed out and wrapped up in this. And eventually, at the end of the day, even though it's an odd situation that needs to be dealt with, I think that she loves you enough and that she's open enough to the possibilities to make this whole thing work out. And I mean, if you're looking at getting married, and again, this is the Page of Cups, 2 of Pentacles, but we have the 10 of Cups as the last card. And this is this whole thing going to work out? You know, of course it is. And I think that's the main thing. So I thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I would love to do an annual reading for you if you're interested. I have a great spread for that, and we can do a deep dive. I'll put the information below. And don't forget that I'm doing monthly zodiac readings. They'll come out about the last week of every month. And beyond that, I will see you next week. Bye-bye.